I would like to preface this review with the fact that I have never actually gone out and bought a mousepad, and I've never really thought it to be a worthy investment to do so. But RGB Lighting is cool, and I've been eyeing the Razer Firefly ever since its announcement, but at $60 it wasn't cheap. But as Amazon Basics does, they now have created their own version coming at just $30. So, is this a low enough price to justify such an extraneous purchase? First off, it's good to see that Amazon isn't skimping on the size to make their option affordable, being practically the same size as the Razer Firefly at roughly 14 inches by 10 inches, which for me personally is the perfect size, if not a bit cramped for my gaming setup. But then I went on and actually used the mousepad, and well, it's pretty good. Being a hard mousepad with a smooth and flat surface made my mouse incredibly responsive. And I tried the mousepad with both the PicTech gaming mouse as well as my standard Razer Death Adder. Both mice moved almost too fast on the mousepad and undoubtedly need some getting used to for me, as someone who's only ever used cloth mousepads. And although I personally don't play esports competitively, I could easily see this being competitively viable. Which, as far as for what I use mine primarily for, that being single player and slower paced games, it was almost too slick and fast for me, and I never quite got used to the speed. However, I suspect anyone that wants as responsive as possible controls in game will love the feel and slickness of this mousepad. Which brings me to the flip side of the mousepad, where there is a textured rubberized surface that did a great job of keeping the mousepad from moving about on my wooden desk. And on smoother surfaces, it didn't seem to be an issue either. Which leads me on to the other main selling feature of this mouse, and why Amazon is even able to sell a hard mousepad for $35, and that is that RGB lighting. Unfortunately, I don't have much to compare it to, but for brightness, it looks great in a dark room or a mediumly lit room. However, in a brightly lit space, the LEDs were quite dim. And that's all assuming you have a white desk, which accentuates the LEDs nicely, and besides the logo, the LEDs were even and didn't look blotchy. And as far as control of that lighting, there are two buttons on the mousepad. One button for dimming and the other for changing the lighting color and mode. Which, on top of having 7 individual colors, includes 3 different modes as well as 4 levels of dimming, including an off mode. A weird quirk I found with this mousepad is that the LEDs still stayed on even though my computer was asleep, and although this isn't a terrible issue because you can turn them off, it is a little bit odd. Which brings me to my conclusion. I honestly don't have anything bad to say about this mousepad, and even though mine somehow got scratched, and the fact that I have little in regards to other budget comparisons, I do know that I've never had a bad experience with Amazon products. And if you want something close to a Firefly for half the price, then you have your mousepad. But for those of you on the fence, it really depends. For me, $30 is still a bit steep for something that had practically no effect on the daily use of my computer, but for others that may be a very different story.